You want to hear content about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia 76ers? That's straight to the point, no nonsense, no over-the-top shenanigans. Say what we got to say and keep it moving? Then you made the right choice coming to Nikki Steve's channel, so stay tuned. For too many years now, the Philadelphia Eagles, as the organization, have drafted poorly, and it's come back to bite them. I mean, we had the Super Bowl run 4 years ago. However, all the poor drafting we've done over the years has put us into the decline since the Super Bowl through 2018, 2019, and then the ultimate blow-off to the decline, the 2020 season, where we finished 4-11-1. All the poor drafting we've done over the years has put us in this position. People refer to the Super Bowl runs and free agency, but obviously, we all know, most of us know by now, the drafting has put us in this poor position that we're in. Drafting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf. So I've been said last year, not trading up to try to get someone like a Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb and settling on Jalen Reagor. I mean, all these other instances, not being able to draft suitable replacements at the offensive line. We drafted Andre Dillard, but he's barely played, and he's shown that he's made of glass. So overall, we've done a very poor job drafting, and all that poor drafting over the years has come back to bite us, because as we continue to do poor drafts year after year after year, a lot of the key talent that helped us with that Super Bowl run started to age, and their bodies started to break down, and we didn't have that talent to rely on anymore. We didn't have Alshon Jeffrey to rely on once his body started to break down. Carson Wentz eventually started to regress. We didn't have guys that were key pieces there. We didn't have Patrick Robinson after that Super Bowl year. We didn't have LeGarrette Blount at the run game. Some of the offensive line guys like Jason Peters wasn't reliable anymore. Lane Johnson in and out of the lineup. We've had all these situations where all these guys started to age, and now a lot of them are gone, and even some of them didn't age started to regress, like Carson Wentz. But the point being, though, a lot of these guys that were key contributors at Super Bowl run are no longer there, and our inability to draft has put us in the position we're in now. And for this 2021 draft, the Philadelphia Eagles must hit on this draft. In order to start the turnaround, we must hit on this draft. We must have a good draft, because that is something the Philadelphia Eagles have not done in a long time, is produce a good draft. We had one good offseason. It gave us a Super Bowl run. But like I said, in the time since then, our inability to draft properly has led to us getting to the state we're in now, where most of the key contributors to that Super Bowl run, both from a coaching and an on-the-field stamp and players on the field, are gone. Most of them are gone. Even the ones that are left are aging. We don't know how much longer they're going to be around. How much longer is Jason Kelce going to be around? I mean, for one example. So we have to hit on this draft. We need to start to get some guys for the future. And when I say hit on this draft, we could have one future Hall of Famer, one multi-time Pro Bowler, one superstar, whatever the case may be. Okay, if we get like one Hall of Famer, superstar, and then maybe get 2 or 3 guys that are either, Pro Bowlers a couple times or good system guys, I'll consider that a hit. Like I said, we get one future superstar, maybe 2 or 3 good system guys that are good for the Eagles. Okay, I'll consider that a pass. I'll consider that a good draft looking back on it 2 years from now, if that's the way we go in 2021. Because realistically, who do you know that's ever had a perfect draft? It don't happen at all. You're never going to have a perfect draft. But with these drafts we've done these past couple years, name me at least multiple guys you can look back on and say, were at minimum good draft picks. At minimum. Name me a draft where you can look at least 2 to 4 players and say, okay, those were good picks. At minimum. Exactly. You can maybe say one guy at most. 2019, the one player I look back on that draft and really say was a good pick is Miles Sanders. But man, this year we definitely, but point being though, there's not too many people from that 2019 draft we can look back on and say, as a good matter of fact, I can only think of one person. That's it. One player that I can look back on and say, okay, that was a good draft pick. But hitting one draft pick an entire draft is not a good draft at all. Not at all. You can, like I said, you hit one superstar, you get 2 or 3 good players. Okay, you at least got 4 picks there. 3 to 4 picks that you can look back on and say, okay, those helped us out. Helped us out position of need and help put us in a better position going forward. And that's what we need from this draft. Definitely need the key positions we definitely need to get help at, or areas that we need help at, or the offensive line, the defensive line, the secondary. We still need help at linebacker, and we still need a good weapon to go to. And we could have had the number 6 pick where we could easily have somebody on the board. Now at the number 12 pick, most likely for a weapon, top weapon is Terrence Marshall from LSU, because then you get the guys like Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith. Do you think any of those guys are going to be around at number 12? Out of all the guys, Terrence Marshall Jr. is going to be the guy at number 12 most likely we can get. But even then, there's still some conflict now on who do you take at number 12. Take J.C. Horn, the son of Joe Horn. So do you take J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, who's the top defensive back prospect in this draft? He's on the board. We could very well do that. I mean, even though we're not, obviously I said wide receiver is a position in need. In terms of having that, what we need at wide receiver is when I say we need at wide receiver is that we need a wide receiver who can be a game opener, who can help break the game open. We haven't had that in a while. Because during those 2 years Deshaun Jackson was back, we only had Deshaun Jackson as a guy who could break the game open for 1 week, the first week of 2019 against Washington at home. Then after that, he was in and out of the lineup the remainder of 2019 into the 2020 season. So that doesn't count. Alshon Jeffrey was a guy who could help break the game open his Super Bowl year, but he hasn't returned to form since, and that's why he's no longer on the roster. So point is, we definitely need when I say we need a wide receiver, we need a guy that can help break the game open. Now, a wide receiver, though, isn't our biggest need, so maybe we might not get a wide receiver in the first round. So I'm leaning toward J.C. Horn to help with the secondary, the top defensive back prospect. However, at the same time, considering our bad history with wide receivers over the years, I'm saying if you find a top prospect on the board that has a name, that has what's the word I'm looking for? That's favorited among draft experts. If you have the opportunity to draft someone like that, do it. Because we have not drafted, as far as drafting good wide receivers, we had Deshaun Jackson in 2008. I mean, guess you could say Zach Ertz in 2013. You could technically count wide receiver tight end. But who have we drafted that's a good one? We only go throughout the 21st century because I've said this in a previous video, and I'll reiterate the point. With wide receivers, we go back to 2001. We could have had Chad Ochocinco or Reggie Wayne. Instead, we took Freddie Mitchell. Even in 2000, we could have had Lavernius Coles over Todd Pinkston. Now, Lavernius Coles was never a superstar, but he was definitely much better than Todd Pinkston. Definitely a much better choice than Todd Pinkston. And then it's even recent years. Like I said, we could have had DK Metcalf, but we took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside instead. Last year, we could have at least tried to trade up when we realized, oh, snap. The top prospects at wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, could be gone by the time we pick. But we didn't do that. We settled for Jalen Reagor instead. I'm not going to completely count Jalen Reagor out yet. I do think he can be better than J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Jalen Reagor at least has the potential to be better. But we could have traded up and got a Justin Jefferson or a CeeDee Lamb. But we didn't do it. So history's not on our side when it comes to drafting wide receivers. There's that part of me that's tempted to say, okay, we need to get a wide receiver out of 4 guys that are there. Obviously, the 3 main guys, like I said, countless times, Kyle Pitts, Devontae Smith, and Jamar Chase. But I'm sure by the time we get to number 12, those guys won't be available. The only real other option is from LSU, Terrence Marshall Jr. So we could potentially get, we could get maybe Terrence Marshall Jr., and I'm leaning toward that, so we can at least get a wide receiver with a name while we still have the opportunity to and get that burden off our back. But then there's the other part of me that's leaning toward getting J.C. Horn in the first round. Because either way, you either get a wide receiver or you get someone in the secondary. Now, I feel the secondary is a bigger need as of now. Now, we did get Andrew Adams from the Bucs, so that gives us a guy with experience who's familiar with the NFL. It's adjusted to the NFL style, playing in the secondary. But I feel like on top of that, you also need somebody new that can be helpful, that can help make an impact. We go ahead a few rounds. We can get Israel Mukumu from the Gamecocks, who was interviewed by Philly Mike on the Philly Talk podcast. He's a guy that could still be on the board. to get to third, fourth round, we could potentially get him. I still think we need to get a linebacker at some point in the draft. Now I'm at the point where I'm going through like different positions of need, trying to lay out different scenarios. Oh yeah, and with safety, we also get Hamasi Nasruddin. There's another potential option we could get there at safety. And there is a part of me that's saying we could get Micah Parsons at linebacker with the number 12 because we got Eric Wilson. That's a nice signing. But we still need some depth at linebacker. And I'm thinking, okay, we get Eric Wilson, guy with experience, who's still young, who as long as he stays healthy, which I'll keep harping on because of our injury rules. But the point being, guy like Eric Wilson, so you got him, but then you bring in another linebacker, a rookie, and that can help with the linebacking, of course, especially if we get the right linebacker. Now, Micah Parsons, he's a guy that could have potential to be a star. But then again, there's also the character concern, specifically with him threatening to, quote, Sandusky teammates, which get off subject a little bit. There's nothing funny about sexual assault, sexual harassment, all, and that's nothing to joke about. Absolutely nothing to joke about. And for Micah Parsons to make those jokes, I don't see anything funny about it. This is not, you shouldn't jokingly or threaten, even if you're threatening and jokingly, even if they're just words, you should never threaten to do anything sexual to anybody, especially unwanted. That's not okay under any circumstances. So that raises a red flag there. Now, the Eagles may also stand by the belief if they bring in Micah Parsons, bring him into the right culture, that could overlook some of the character concerns. So there is a possibility. Another possibility is a guy like KJ Britt from Auburn. If you see my mock drafts, I did multiple mock drafts where I drafted KJ Britt. And I want to say one more thing. So I already did my mock draft, and I said on Twitter, so for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you probably saw my tweet. I said I was going to do another mock draft early the week of the draft. So sometime around the 26th or the 27th, that Monday or Tuesday, the week of, expect another mock draft video. But, I had been going with KJ Britt as a potential option in some mock drafts. That could help us at linebacker. I did one mock draft where I got two linebackers. But then again, now that we have Eric Wilson, okay, so we got a guy with experience, but we also need a new guy that can be a guy going forward. So there is the potential for a KJ Britt from Auburn, or also the possibility for Micah Parsons if you feel that his past character concerns is something you can overcome. You feel that you have the right culture to help him stay straightened out, then you could possibly go there too. So these are all different options. There's other options. So obviously we got that. We also need help on the offensive line and the defensive line as well. Oh, yeah, there's one more potential option I wanted to bring up at linebackers while we're still on the subject. Because I know Micah Parsons was a Penn State guy. Another Penn State guy we could possibly get is Shakir Katoni because, again, he's at Penn State, so nearby Philadelphia. If we don't get a Micah Parsons or someone early, we could potentially get a Shakir Katoni, but he's not going to go. I'm not going to talk about that too much. But I'm throwing it out as an option, though. I'm only throwing it out as a potential option because he's from Penn State. But anyhow, so we do have some guys from the offensive line we could get. Two guys you could possibly get are Royce Newman of Ole Miss and Jackson Carman of Clemson. So those are some potential guys. I've been doing my mock drafts. I was getting some offensive linemen later in the draft as well. Tommy Kramer from Notre Dame. Chad Hudgerson from, where was it again? You guys can let me know in the comment section. Where was Chad Hudgerson from again? Can't remember off the top of my head. But there are some potential guys we could be getting. Like I said, if we're going to get an offensive tackle in the earlier rounds, somewhere between rounds 1 to 3, then we could definitely get Newman out of Ole Miss. Or, oh darn, I had a brain freeze. I literally remembered his name from Clemson. I literally just said his name. Now all of a sudden I can't remember it again. Oh darn, who was it? Or Jackson Carman from Clemson between round 1 to 3. So we could get Carman or Newman somewhere between rounds 1 to 3. Sorry for the brain freeze, but anyway. So these are so we definitely, like I said, we need some help on the offensive line, and there are definitely guys we could get. Some guys early, maybe late. Maybe we could get a guy in the earlier rounds between rounds 1 to 3, then come back in the later rounds and get another guy. Between rounds 1 to 3, get a Newman or a Carman, then come back and get a Hudgerson or a Kramer in the later rounds. We could get 2 offensive linemen. And also there's the pot, which I'll discuss more in my mock drafts. I'll give a better overview of the draft as a whole when I do my mock draft the week of. I'm just giving some scenarios for the positions in need. So
Offensive lineman, there's some guys we could get. Wide receiver, I mean, there are other guys we could get later in the draft, but I feel like we need to get someone who's a top prospect based off our history of drafting guys out of the blue that don't really have a name, that really don't work out. When there's guys out there that have names, that are favorable with draft prospects, that have a lot of upside, that a lot of the experts see, but the Eagles don't draft them, or they don't make an effort to try to trade up to get them, all these situations. So I feel like we got to get someone with a name while we have the chance to try and reverse the course of history. That's why I didn't really give too many names for wide receiver. But anyhow, I don't want to ramble on too long. So, and we definitely also know their key position is the defensive line. We definitely need some guys in the defensive line. One guy I just went through, I drafted in a couple of my mock drafts, is Jonathan Marshall from Arkansas. There's a guy we could potentially get right there. So we could get Jonathan Marshall from Arkansas. Other guys we could get Lorenzo Neal from Purdue and Mustafa Johnson from Colorado. So there's at least 3 guys we could potentially draft. 1 or 2 of those guys we could draft that could at least help us on the defensive line, because we definitely need some guys on the defensive line. So I'm giving a brief overview of some of the things we could do. Like, we could on the defensive line get Mustafa Johnson and Lorenzo Neal possibly. We could get Jonathan Marshall and Lorenzo Neal with different rounds. I mean, these are all different possibilities of what could happen. So we could get multiple guys I listed out on the defensive line. Even out of the linebackers, we could get maybe even get a Micah Parsons if we want to overlook the character concerns and then come back and get KJ Britt from Auburn later. So we could get multiple linebackers. We could get multiple defensive linemen. We could get multiple guys on the offensive line like I laid out. I mean, we could possibly go get a J.C. Horn in the first round, get an Israel Mukumu, maybe third round if he's still on the board. Israel Mukumu isn't projected to go till somewhere third, fourth round. So it's possible we could get him later. So these are all different possibilities that we can do because we definitely need help. Like I said, the secondary, we need another linebacker to go along with Eric Wilson. We need some help on the D and offensive line. And we definitely need a guy that we can throw the ball to that can be our main target. Can help break the game open. So I was giving someone to give some overviews on what we could do, but regardless, we definitely need to hit on this draft. We definitely need to focus in. Whatever the Eagles do, we have to focus in on the line on both the offense and the defense. Definitely need to focus in on getting a wide receiver. We do need a linebacker to complement with Eric Wilson. We definitely need some help on the secondary. Specifically, we need help with the secondary, the offense, and defensive line. Those are the three main needs we need in this draft. So we definitely, our 3 main needs are both sides of the line and the secondary. We definitely need to invest in those positions. And I was thinking about getting a running back. I was drafting running backs in the mock draft, but then I realized, with Jordan Howard getting signed, we don't really need a running back. Matter of fact, we have too many running backs. We're definitely going to have to cut some running backs, but we'll talk about that in the summer to get closer to the season. But no, regardless, we definitely need to hit on this draft. We need to invest in positions in need. We need to draft some guys that actually have some names going in the draft that experts and analysts are on board with. We cannot keep drafting random guys out the blue that haven't been heard of, because that's the draft strategy that's been putting us in the position we're in. We cannot keep doing the same thing, the same draft strategy, drafting the same type of players and expecting a different outcome. That's got to change. It's got to start with this draft. And I'll definitely talk more about the draft. Like I said, I'll do a mock draft the week of. Definitely going to do a review. Depending on my schedule, I might do a live stream during the draft. But I'll definitely be making more content throughout we get closer to the draft and after the draft. But the Eagles, they have to hit on this draft is the main point I wanted to make. I wanted to give out scenarios they could possibly do to address the positions in need. And that's all I'm going to say here. So to everyone that watched, thank you for watching. If you haven't done so, hit the like button. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new vid. And feel free to leave a comment section. Let me know what you think. What do you think are the most important positions in need? You can give me other analysis of who you think would be the right guys for each position, who would be the right guys to take each round. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And most of all, to everyone watching, have a wonderful day or night. Nicky Stee signing off, and I'll see you next time. For more content like that about the Philadelphia Eagles, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new vid.